Yeah, good morning. Welcome to Sunday edition. Macclesfield are the toast of FA Cup weekend after pulling off the greatest shock of all time. And Chairman Robert Smethurst will be joining us at 9:15. And we're also asking, what was your favourite FA Cup third round shock? Myself and Henry will have a bit to say about that later on. Big games today include Arsenal at Portsmouth and Man United at home to Brighton, with Darren Fletcher in charge after the departure of Ruben Amorim. Was axing Amorim the right call? You can get in touch with the show. Text us on 81089 or WhatsApp us on 03717 223344. We're also live on YouTube and your smart TV. Just search talksport.com/watch for more details. This is Sunday edition on talkSPORT. Morning, Henry.
Morning, Shaun.
I thought it was appropriate this morning. Trains are all over the place. Things are a bit chaotic. And I had to get on at Harlow Town this morning. Why, for FA Cup weekend, was that so significant? It's because Harlow actually pulled off one of the great FA Cup shocks themselves.
I mean, my journey was so convoluted. I could have come in via Hereford, Sutton. I mean, all over the place. Anyway, we got here.
Back in 1980, Harlow Town beat Leicester. Gary Lineker's Leicester, actually, 1-0 after drawing at Filbert Street. And that was one of the great FA Cup shocks, which we'll be talking about later on. But nothing has trumped Macclesfield. Now, people are saying it's the greatest FA Cup shock of all time because statistically, there's 117 places between Crystal Palace and Macclesfield. Is it the greatest shot, even though the data tells you it is?
Yes, and I know there's a recency bias, and we tend to sort of overhype things, but I just think absolutely it is. You look at what happened, you look at the quality that Crystal Palace put out. You know, Wharton was playing, Gay was playing. You know, they brought internationals on. And Macclesfield played so well. I mean, rightly, I'm looking at it's on the front pages, let alone the back pages. Yeah. And that is why. And look, we are in an age where there's so much focus, and we're guilty of it in the media, focusing on the elite, focusing on Manchester United and what's going on at the top, and forgetting that football is a pyramid. And you look at community
You never
clubs.
forget football's a pyramid.
Well, no, but you don't either, given that, you know, you go off with the Ware Massive and follow them home and away when you can. And, you know, it has to be remembered, particularly at a time when, without getting over serious, there is a sort of debate about how much money the elite should be spreading down through the pyramid. So that's a whole ongoing debate at the moment. But absolutely, it's the fact that it's on the front pages, as well as all over the back pages, as well as all over the sports supplements, Sunday Telegraph, magical Macclesfield. And you look at the picture of Paul Dawson celebrating man of the match, the sort of Terry Butcher, Paul Ince sort of bloodied head. I mean, it's all the makings. And then you look at his journey in football, Lancaster City, Bamber Bridge, apparently working in a supervisor on the motorway, and now he's on the road to Wembley. I mean, it is all there, everything. So
great
I take your point back.
As well.
They're fantastic photos.
And Terry Butcher headband stuff from...
Yeah, it's a press association. I don't mention the name of the photographer, but it is everywhere, that picture of Dawson with Isaac Buckley Ricketts, the other goal scorer. But, there was nothing fortuitous about it.
No.
I mean, you looked at the way Mellor played. He got taken off with a couple of minutes to go. He was absolutely tireless, ran himself into the ground. And you look at the journeys of these players, and we'll talk about it with Rob Smithhurst when he comes on. But, he started out at Manchester United, played one game there, didn't work out, and then he went again. So the resilient, and that's what the Cup's all about. We keep on writing off the FA Cup, and yet it's still here, 150, 160 years on, with results like that, the greatest shock in FA Cup history.
Absolutely, and of course it is a club reborn as well, having gone out of business, rescued, risen from the ashes. Really.
Return of the Mac, as some of the headlines have put it. Mac and Flies, I quite like that in your paper. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, briefly. No, because Robert Smith, is the chairman stroke owner, said he was going to fly to Ibiza to celebrate. He is, as I say, he's on at 9:15, so hopefully... I hope
he's not in Ibiza already, actually, because we might struggle. No, it's brilliant. And what a great story, he's been. And the fact that 5 years ago, Mactown were liquidated. And he came in and stepped in. Amazingly, there are other stories squeezed into
on
the
downside.
Pages. On the downside. Well, I mean, Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, the first half performance was embarrassing. Second half, why doesn't Thomas Frank give his half-time team talk before the first?
I mean, they were actually pretty good second half,
they were. And it was good to see Dominic Solanke coming back on. But look, first and foremost, let's praise Aston Villa. I mean, Unai Emery, what a job he's doing, the confidence of that team. And when you've got leaders like McGinn, when you've got Morgan Rogers playing like he is, and also he's tactically what he does is that at 60 minutes, Unai Emery brings on even more pace. So Watkins comes flying on, as Sancho comes flying on. So, but anyway, the sort of back page of your paper, exit from the cup, edges Frank closer to the axe. This is Martin Lipton, who's well connected at Spurs. And look, he was getting some fairly negative chants in him, and he's basically had issues with 2 cups this week. First going out the FA Cup, and then holding that Arsenal Cup at Bournemouth.
I mentioned to you the other week that I studied him quite closely in the Newcastle Spurs game, and how basically the players didn't ever listen to anything he said, or it didn't look like it. When he was trying to organise things, they just weren't taking a blind bit. No, and I think there's been further evidence of that since, that they don't really seem to engage with him. We're still getting this thing where players don't shake hands with him, they don't take instructions from him. It's got to be worrying if you're a Spurs fan.
But would you say that on the second half performance? Because they hadn't down tools for him on that second half display.
No, agreed. But the first half performance was terrible.
Terrible.
I mean, does that save him, that second half performance?
Well, first, who would you bring in? You've always got to sort of consider that. Yeah. Another
Ryan Mason's available again.
Yeah, all about the DNA. No, I think he's got to be given a slightly longer chance, but they've absolutely got to. I mean, there were certain good moments in the second half, certain, better performances. Again, good to see Solanke coming back in, but then they lose Richarlison to injury. So,
meanward, over at Manchester United. What's the latest?
Well, Gary Neville on the Overlap newsletter, talking about he's backing a move for Carlo. This is on the back page of the Sunday Express.
Has he got Carlo Ancelotti? Right. So earlier on, Gary Neville, earlier in the week, was saying you need somebody with Manchester United's DNA. I don't really understand what that is. Has Carlo Ancelotti got Manchester United DNA? I'm not aware of it.
He's not a head coach. He's a manager.
Oh, like that.
There's a lot of discussion about head coaches versus managers. Top 3 teams in the country have all got strong managers. So whether Carlo, I would be surprised. Also, he's got Brazil on his plate, so he's not going to be around until July. But Gary's point is he claimed the club's next manager must be able to handle the media. Carlo has the media eating out of his hands. Understand the Premier League, and that's me adding that bit. Understand the Premier League and English football. Yes, understands that. The Manchester United way, which is your point about DNA. Does he understand the Manchester United way? And be able to get the best out of a group of players that will include egos and superstars. Well, he's shown that whether he's very good at dealing with that. And then Gary writes in his overlap newsletter, you have to be pretty special to tick all four of those boxes. The outstanding candidate for me will be Carlo Ancelotti.
Which is maybe why they're talking about an interim boss till the end of the season, and then having a look around and thinking, is that the man? To be honest, if Carlo Ancelotti can't save a big club like Man United, who could?
Well, absolutely. Well, they have gone for big managers post-Ferguson.
Yeah, but this is...
Van Gaal, Mourinho.
But I don't know. There's something calmer about Carlo and sensible
absolutely.
And a winner. He's got the winning DNA, which is obviously a good thing.
He has, yeah, and also he always recommends the best restaurants wherever you go in the world. So
good for the media too.
The Manchester press back will have fun with him. But I mean, I take your point about when do they appoint, but I don't think they've got any choice but to have an interim now, because all the elite managers, we're talking Carlo Ancelotti, they're not going to be available until the summer. Are they going to try and get Oliver Glasner in now? I've heard about Glasner. He's been slightly damaged by events at Macclesfield. He's an outstanding manager or head coach, but you wait until the summer. So now the discussions are, is it Carrick or is it Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who the papers all saying are talking to during the week? Have we got time for any more?
Not really, but we might get round to some of the other issues, which include the cricket, later on, coming up next here on Sunday Edition. It is Macclesfield owner-chairman Robert Smethurst.
120 years since the FA Cup holders were knocked out by non-league opposition, but the Siltmen dream of glory. Rich has got his head to it. Oh, Dawson! It is 1-0 Macclesfield. What a story! That goal could end up being one of the biggest in FA Cup history. The holders trail to a side in the bottom half of the National League North. I break Fensham's way, left-footed effort. Oh, it's deflected in. Buckley Ricketts has made it too. Wow. This could be an FA Cup victory like none we have ever seen. It's a big moment, this. It's Pino, and it's in.
What a
and
goal.
There is the lifeline.
What a goal.
They have done it. Macclesfield, who 5 years ago didn't even exist as a football club, have knocked the holders out of the FA Cup. Everyone will remember the 10th of January 2026. Macclesfield 2, Crystal Palace 1, an FA Cup tie for the ages.
What a performance by Macclesfield, the greatest FA Cup shock of all time, giving us 117 places between them and Crystal Palace. And remarkably, the owner-chairman, Rob Smethurst, is joining us today. He's got himself out of bed and he's with us now. Rob, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Well, how are you? It must be amazing to be hearing clips like that, watching it on TV. I bet you just can't get enough of it.
Do you know what? I woke up this morning, I still think it's a dream. The scenes yesterday were just absolutely incredible. The fans were running on the pitch. I mean, who would have thought it? Beating the title holders, Crystal Palace. Epic scenes. I know the lads were out till 3-4 o'clock.
They've got a game on Tuesday.
So, yeah, incredible.
You're looking remarkably well this morning. You must have had a little celebration yourself, Rob.
No, I didn't actually. I got myself back. I thought I'd leave it to the lads, let them go and enjoy themselves. I stayed out for a little bit, don't get me wrong. But I thought I'd better be in the good books and behave and, so the wife didn't, kill me if I was out too late.
Just quickly, actually, when I was reading just before this cup tie, you did say that it put a bit of a strain on your relationship because you bought the club when you had a bit of a drunken session and decided to buy Macclesfield. I take it she enjoyed yesterday then?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, at the time, yeah, I probably didn't tell her. I probably only really told her yesterday that I bought the club now. It was a bit of a shock when I did tell her at the time. And, I think she really enjoyed it yesterday and the whole family were there. And it was just one of those real special occasions that we really thoroughly enjoyed.
Rob, looking at your Instagram, there's a lovely picture of the fans and the players celebrating, and the caption just says, "This is what it means to support a community club," with the emphasis on community. Is that what yesterday was all about?
Yeah, do you know what? When I bought the club, I wanted to do something special. Obviously the club had gone into receivership. I had a great opportunity and lucky enough that I sold my business and I wanted to do something good. And, I wanted to put Macclesfield back on the map. And, obviously I bought it on Rightmove. But, it is all about the community. It's about the fan base. We've built something really special there. There's nearly 3,500-4,000 fans come to each game, Tuesday night, Saturdays. And the emphasis is on really just giving back and making sure that, that they really enjoy it. You see the faces and the community spirit that you see, week in, week out. And I think, that's what non-league football is about. It's about, seeing those people on a Saturday really enjoying themselves and getting that community spirit going.
Were you actually a fan of the club previously before you bought it? Had you been to watch them at all?
Yeah, I've been a couple of times. I wasn't really a huge, big football fan. Obviously, I supported Manchester United, and but when you see sort of the heartbeat, being ripped out of Macclesfield, and you see the community really sort of fall apart. Football is something special, and I think it brings people together. It's like no other sport in the world that can do that, and we've certainly got something really special at Macclesfield now.
The FA Cup is famous for cup shocks. So not only have you beaten the holders in Crystal Palace, but to actually, statistically, as it says, to pull off the greatest shock of all time adds the cherry on the cake, I suppose.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I mean, I think this was a special moment. Not just for the fans, but we had a tragic story, with losing Ethan and our striker, and he was our 12th man out there, and his family came in after the game, and we wanted to celebrate with them, as much as anybody, and we did that, but. We've built something special, and to go into sort of history now, this is really put Macclesfield on the map, and for me as an owner, and the shareholders that have invested in me and believed in this dream, it's also a credit to those as well, because dreams can come true, and I think certainly what we have done is make that happen. It is a dream.
People talk about this being a shock, and it clearly is. But having watched the game on television, you totally deserved this. I mean, it wasn't a sort of fluky goal. You were in control for until the last 10 minutes when Palace came on strong. And although Glasner rested some of his players, Wharton was out there, Gay was out there. That was a serious team that you were playing up against. That must have made you even prouder.
I think it was. I think it was an unbelievable scenes. I mean, the lads went out there, they gave it absolutely everything, and I think don't underestimate probably the non-league standard now. It's very professional. The days of the beer drinkers and the big bellies have gone, and we've certainly seen that in non-league, that it is more professional. But at the end of the day, look, it was Crystal Palace. They're phenomenal, and we can't thank them. And I'll tell you what was amazing is their fan base. That supported them were total class act. They were really good, and the chairman also, sent me a lovely message afterwards to say congratulations. So, they were really classy.
I was just going to ask you actually about Palace there, because the amazing thing, well, not the amazing thing, but one of the things afterwards was Glasner's reaction. I half expect him to say, look, we tried a different team. It was a different place to come, but we move on. These things happen. But he was absolutely crushed by this defeat, because the FA Cup has meant so much to Palace to win their first trophy last season.
Yeah, you're right. I think, I watched that interview, I think it's a tough one. I think, when you start looking at the money side of things, I'm not saying it takes a mockery out of it, but, our budget is probably just short of £1 million. If you compare to, their sort of maybe 300 million value or 500 million value of a club, players, and the wages that these guys on, our guys are part-time players, and that's the fairy tale story. They train 2 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays. Some of them have, well, most of them have jobs during the week. And for them to go out there and perform like the way they did, I mean, it was exceptional. I mean, I thought what Rooney has done as a manager since he's come in, the way that he's making them play through the thirds, making sure that the recruitment's been right. That's what's impressed me, and his tactical changes as well. But yeah, the manager must be crushed. He must be upset when he sees, players that have come through academies and everything else, put a performance like that out. If I was certainly Crystal Palace, that performance certainly wasn't good enough.
Is that right? Palace gave you their share of the gate receipts. And what will this mean to the club going forward in terms of investing in the squad and infrastructure?
Yeah, huge. It's an amazing thing for Macclesfield. We do spend quite a lot because we have, huge gate receipts. And, within football, unfortunately, the more, the better you do and the higher you move up the leagues, the worse it actually gets financially as an owner. So success brings other challenges, because obviously your fan base want you to be, keep on moving up the leagues. But, sometimes it's not affordable. So, this will make the club, for the next couple of years, especially with the next draw, if we're lucky enough to potentially get an away game, and especially if it's a Premier League club, you can be drawing, nearly up to £1 million in funds. So, this will help us look at strengthening the squad. But you know what, after the performance those guys gave, you sort of question, do we actually need to? I think it's more about retaining some of the talent and signing up and getting a few more contracts so they don't leave us.
Just finally, Rob, what is the ultimate target for you as owner of Macclesfield? Where do you think you can get them to?
I think, look, my dream when I bought the club, and the investors that have come on this journey with me now want to try and take this football club to the league. It's a dream of ours. I think that's a realistic probably figure that I can put on it. Is try and get to league football. But if we want to go any further, then we're going to need probably bigger investment and look at bigger finances to try and do that.
Rob Smethurst, owner chairman of Macclesfield. What a great day. Thank you very much for joining us. Go and keep enjoying it. Be great.
Thanks very much, guys.
Enjoy Ibiza. Fantastic.
It's hugely impressive, man, what he's done for that club. And it's his reward, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. And he is someone who obviously, I mean, he says he wasn't necessarily a Mac fan going into it, but he's obviously fallen in love with it. His point about community is completely right. You need people like him who've got deepish pockets, who've sort of stepped in there. And absolutely, let's see them fly up the leagues. And it's a great advertisement for the 3-Up campaign, going from the National League,
which you were desperate to ask him about, but we didn't quite have enough time.
Well, we've talked about it a lot on the show, and I think this confirms the legitimacy of 3-Up.
Indeed. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Best of the best is next.
Sport is often filled with people trying to make a quick buck, often at fans' expenses. But sometimes someone on the fringes comes up with an exhibition idea that goes down a storm. Let me tell you about a couple of them. Mallorca 2007. Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer compete in what was dubbed the Battle of the Surfaces, a unique idea that reportedly almost got cancelled at the last minute when worms got into the grass. An 11th hour turf delivery got the match on, and despite some dodgy bounces on the new green stuff, Rafa and Roger slugged out a 3-set epic. Tennis has a history of exhibitions too, with the Battle of the Sexes in 1973 captivating audiences worldwide as Billie Jean King took on the former world #1 men's player Bobby Riggs, who talked down the women's game. Billie Jean King won. In motorsport, there was Monza-Napolis in the 50s when American Indy cars went up against European F1 cars. But perhaps the best exhibitions have been the charity ones. In 1998, legends like Mike Atherton, Sachin Tendulkar and Glenn McGrath turned out at Lord's for a one-dayer in memory of Princess Diana. And since 2006, we've had Soccer Aid, which has raised an incredible amount of money. And if you get to see the likes of Jose Mourinho taking out Ollie Mers, then what's not to like?
Loads more to come on Sunday edition with myself, Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. That includes Lee Pomlett, who's Walsall's co-chairman. He's coming up at 10:15. Walsall are at Norwich City today. But now it's time for this.
One of the greatest tries ever scored, but she won't get there. Kaylee Hodgkinson is the Olympic champion.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
Oh, Stephen Harmison, one of the great balls.
Double 12! Oh my word!
Best of the best on Sunday edition.
I think I'm a special one.
I think he's done it! Yes! You beauty!
Let's be having you!
On talkSPORT.
Yeah, it's our feature Best of the Best. And when me and Henry decided to set this one up earlier in the week, we thought we're safe here. We just picked the best FA Cup third round shocks of all time. And now it's really the second best FA Cup shocks of all time, given that Macclesfield, as I say, 117 places from Crystal Palace, have pulled up what many consider the best. I would say, I've had a message from my mate Richard who said, forget the stats, football's about emotion. So it has to be, biggest shock has to be Ronnie Radford and Ricky George in 1972. This is when Hereford beat Newcastle. Superb John Motson commentary. And in those days, the FA Cup final was the biggest day of the football calendar. So context is crucial.
Yeah, I get the point about context. And the FA Cup has lost an element of its shine. But then when you see the fans' reaction yesterday, you hear Rob Smethurst talking earlier.
Absolutely.
You see the fact that it's on the front pages. It just shows that it's
probably Hereford Newcastle
appeal.
wasn't on the front pages in 1972. Do you think it would have been?
I think probably not. But then if you look at the World Cup coverage,
that wasn't on the front page.
I mean, it was honestly. I mean, I've been analysing a lot. Yeah. So I'm writing a book, and it's had two reporters and a quotesman for a lot of the papers. It was very low key.
So context is crucial here as well. That Macclesfield gets a lot more headlines than probably even Hereford did. Although we're still talking about Hereford even now in the context of Macclesfield.
I think that was a better pitch invasion.
But also
the Parkers on the mud and everything.
I was studying this one again because I always have to every FA Cup.
Is that difficult as a Newcastle fan?
Well, we're used to it. It's nice to see teams like Macclesfield.
Was that your first thought? That you might be lower down the pecking order of shocks?
The thing about the Hereford game was, of course, they also managed to get a draw at St James's Park to take themselves back to Edgar Street. It was a game that was postponed 5 times over the 2 legs, 3 times at St James's, 2 at Edgar Street. Played on one of those pitches which you just never see now. I mean, Macclesfield are playing on 4G, a carpet basically. Not that I'm not saying that makes it any easier. Just saying it's quite different. So Hereford Newcastle is still one of those horror ones. In fact, we're involved in 2 of the biggest shocks of all time because Stevenage went and beat us 3-1 in 2011. I was at that one. I usually say you've got to be at the game, Henry, to talk about these, but that's the only one I've actually been at of the real big.
I
big
found
shocks.
4 that I'd been at.
Go on.
Actually. Well, I'm doing them in chronological order. Shrewsbury 2, Everton 1. Shrewsbury were in the fourth tier, the third division at the time. And of course, the emotional element, well, many emotional elements, but they were managed by Kevin Ratcliffe, former Everton title-winning captain. Nigel Jempson, 2 goals, fantastic free kick. And this was a good Everton side in 2003 under David Moyes. So that was the first of my shocks.
Can you remember the sort of feeling there when they won it? How was it? And all the difficult press facilities. Nobody's going to cry for us for all that, and how just very different it is going to Shrewsbury for a cup tie as opposed to all the top games you usually go to.
I can remember a ball going out of the ground, and of course, was there going to be one of the kit man in the coracle actually sort of going and fishing it out of the river? And one of the local journalists took me to this fantastic pub in the middle of Shrewsbury. And so, anyway, many happy memories of that one. Go on, what's your...
No,
2005. I mean, this was a difficult one. So Burnley, who were in the Championship, this was at Turf Moor, very icy night, 1-0 against Liverpool. And Rafa Benitez got a bit of stick for rotating heavily. This is obviously in the January of 2005, in a fairly momentous year for Liverpool. And having gone on to Istanbul for the Champions League final, there was an element of looking back on the reason why he did sort of rotate a smaller squad then. But it was also memorable for one of the most spectacular own goals I've ever seen, which is Jimmy Traore trying to do a Cruyff turn in front of his own goal, and his legs went all over the place, and the ball went in the back of the net as he miscued it. So yeah, that was a fairly memorable night.
Burnley were actually on the wrong end of one of the big shocks as well when they lost at home to Wimbledon in 1975. Wimbledon were famous non-league cup fighters at the time before they won the FA Cup. I think they were in the Southern League at the time. I remember that because I don't know, Wimbledon won something the year before, but anyway, it was a biggie at the time, even before our time for covering football. But
you must have been at Old Trafford in 2010. Manchester United 0, Leeds 1. Leeds were in League One at the time. I can remember Jermaine Beckford scoring. I think it was in front of the Leeds fans, who basically just taken over one end. I mean, that's the other thing about the FA Cup. You get, 15% for the away, so it adds more sort of atmosphere and
that wasn't Man United's biggest cup shock, though, was it? When they lost to Bournemouth in 1984, 2-0. A young Harry Redknapp as manager. That at the time, because Bournemouth were well down at the bottom of the old third division, to beat Man United was I mean, we think now Bournemouth beating Man United, that's not such a big deal. Back then, it certainly was, wasn't it?
I think also the rivalry between Manchester United and Leeds United just added to that, to the edge of that game. And Jermaine Beckford's brilliantly taken goal.
Mm-hmm. Anywhere else you've been?
Oxford 3, Swansea 2, 2016, Kemar Rufa scored. I mean, it was... The Kassam Stadium was, it's a strange place with sort of open at one end. You've only got one end. But actually that was, we were talking about how well Mac played yesterday against Palace. Oxford played really well that game. I mean, John Lundstrom was in midfield, stroking the ball about. Rufus obviously got pace and trouble. And that was a good Swansea side. So, yeah, that's the extent of my shots.
But ones that... we weren't at, but were still pretty seismic. I mentioned earlier on Harlow beating Leicester, just because I got on the train at Harlow this morning, 1980. That was huge. And also because Harlow had got a draw at Leicester City at Filbert Street before that and went on to win 1-0. Sutton beating Coventry 2-1, 1999.
Were they the holders then, or the year after?
No, it would be the year after.
Yeah.
Matt Hanlon's winner, remember very well. Birmingham losing at home to Altrincham. Altrincham were famous old cup fighters, winning 2-1. West Brom 2, Woking 4 was pretty big at the time. I think Big Sam was coach along with Brian Talbot, and they got the sack as a result of that one. And Tim Bazaglo scoring a hat-trick.
Yeah.
Which, again, we were non-league.
He was woke up. I remember him talking about it. He woke up completely unknown and ended up being chauffeured into Match of the Day. I mean, that just shows what the Cup's going to... Here's something I wanted to ask you. No VAR.
Yes, it was a bit weird, wasn't it? It was the Charlton goal last night against Chelsea with the player sort of standing in the keeper's eye line, but when you look at it from behind, he probably wasn't. But it did add to the fact that when you scored, you scored.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it, didn't it? I've got to say I enjoyed the fact VAR wasn't on. I know you love VAR, but
no, I like VAR as it was originally intended for clear and obvious, for Thierry Henry handball or Diego Maradona handball, for major events like that, not for this micro refereeing, the forensic element. That's just taken it too far.
Absolutely. I've got one more cup shock to add. Wrexham 2, Arsenal 1. We all remember that one, don't we?
Well, absolutely, and there were echoes of that. With Wrexham the other night when the cameras panned up to Mickey Thomas.
Absolutely, and he actually didn't score the winner. It's a guy called Steve Watkin who scored the winner, but everybody thinks Mickey Thomas did. It's a bit like Ronnie Radford didn't score the winner for Hereford against Newcastle. Ricky George did.
Do you know when we used to play for the England press team when it was going, and we used to play against the Welsh before the cup final at the Millennium?
Mickey
Thomas used to run the game. I mean,
he was just unbelievable. Probably the most skillful ex-pro we ever played against. He was a genius. And he always says, actually, that Man United was too big for him. He was such a good player, but he just couldn't handle it there. But goodness me, did he make an impression that day?
Yeah, it's good to see him looking well.
Indeed. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. And next up, we're joined by Walsall co-owner Lee Pomlett as they travel to Norwich today. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT, where we're talking FA Cup. We were just talking about our big shocks, and we were actually concentrating on third-round shocks earlier on. So lots of people texting in with fourth-round shocks, but we only make the third-round shocks today. However, Andy Popple will chastises me for not mentioning Newcastle 0, Cambridge United 1, or have you forgotten that one, Shaun?
Oh, you've been through the mill.
We have. We've got at least 3 entries in the top 20, I would think. 2 in the top 10.
There was an element of that under Mike Ashley, wasn't there? With him just sort of focusing on league positions rather than cup. Anyway, back to the cup.
Anyway, Back to today's action. Norwich City host Walsall. I'm delighted to say we're joined by Lee Pomlett, Walsall's co-chairman. Lee, good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Lee.
How's it going at Walsall? You're back in the promotion spots as you were last season. Are you more optimistic of a good season ahead, a promotion, maybe a run in the cup too?
Yes, I think we're optimistic. We made a good start in the first half of the season. We've been extremely diligent through the January window, so far anyway. So I think we're optimistic. We have a big, powerful, strong side, as you will see this afternoon, I suspect. We're optimistic, and we only missed out on promotion last season by about 1 minute.
Yeah.
He could have gone either way, after falling short by such a fine margin. But Matt and the boys have really responded to the challenge, and I'm delighted with them. And to be in third place at the turn of the season, I'm happy with that.
You did, of course, get to play at Wembley last season, albeit heartbreaking in that playoff. Norwich City, perhaps when you get into the third round for a club like Walsall, you want a big fish, you want a big away time, make you a lot of money. Norwich probably isn't quite what you were looking for. However, given their struggles and how well you're doing, you've got a chance of getting through this one and getting into the fourth round.
Yeah, we were happy with the tie, to be honest, Shaun. I think, we'd have preferred Aston Villa, being the local club to us. But Norwich is a good tie for us, and we're looking forward to the game. And they're a sizable championship outfit. They may be struggling a little bit at the moment, but we will show them all the respect they deserve. And I think we go into it with optimism. We're a tough side, and we'll show that this afternoon, I'm sure. So we're pretty pleased with the draw. It's a biggish club, and one that we can compete in. So we're okay with it.
Lee, even where one of your players has been talking about your unbelievable support, and I think you're taking 1,000 to Carrow Road. You probably could have taken more. It shows the sort of the sign of the commitment to the team and the club.
Yeah, I mean the crowds are the crowds at Walsall are the biggest for 21 years. That's extraordinary. And our away support is one of the best in the whole of the league. It's a big town, Walsall. People forget. Mm-hmm. It's a big town, and the club has potential to be to compete from a size of town point of view. We've just got to realise that potential. And I think we have been trying to do that. And witness the fact that our crowds have averaged 7,000 this year. Our home crowds are 6,000. And that's the best, as I mentioned, for 21 years. And our away support has been... so remember, this is the third. We've done Eastleigh, Gateshead and Norwich. I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? Across the country. We've done thousands of miles to watch us progress in the FA Cup. The fans have been fantastic. And there's well over 1,000 on the way to the stadium as we speak, and thanks to all of them. It's been a tremendous response.
Lee, can you tell us a little bit about your journey with Walsall, how you got involved with the club? Were you always a fan?
I was Walsall born. I've supported the club since I was 5 years old. My father took me when I was 5, and I've been going ever since, frankly. And I come from a corporate background. I've company chief executives roles over the last 20, 30 years. And the opportunity came to buy the club about 6 years ago. And I bought it. And I bought it just before COVID, and that was convenient. And we'd just been relegated at that time. So it was a tough couple of 3 years. And then I brought in an investor called Chavella, an American investor, I do not believe nowadays, and there are exceptions to this, but that a single bloke, no matter how successful he may or may not be, owning a football club is not particularly sustainable. And we're part of a group called Chavella, with 3 other clubs, including Jada in Ireland, Silkeborg in Denmark, and a club in Togo in Africa. And Walsall is part of that grouping. And that, for me, is a far more comfortable strategic position to be in than Walsall on its own by one individual, because football sustainability is just so difficult.
Lee, you talk about your corporate background. I mean, you've worked all over the world, so Detroit, Amsterdam, Shanghai, Japan. I mean, it's quite it's an impressive amount of globetrotting. In terms of putting Walsall on the map, were people in those places that you worked in, and you talked about your sort of boyhood passion for a club, were they A, aware of Walsall, and B, are places around the world more likely to be aware of Walsall if you have a good result and a good run in the cup?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, overstate that. I mean, I think the fact we're American owned and we're part of a grouping gives us opportunities to trade with each other, but also leverage across the world. I think my experience of being around the world has just taught me how to run businesses. And Walsall is a business, and we run it like a business, sustainably. And it causes frustration at times, but we will not run it any other way. And so I'm very careful about the stewardship of the club, and will continue to be so, and regardless of the pressures, and will not fall into the trap that clubs do of throwing huge wealth at football clubs to ultimately fail.
One of those
at League Two level, throwing huge amounts of money at a football club is not a clever thing to do. Well, it just isn't.
One of those frustrations, though, Lee, is in the old days, of course, you play away at Norwich and think, oh, if we can get a draw, we can bring them back to our place, that's more money, etc. But you don't have that anymore. Do you bemoan the loss of the replay?
Yeah, that's very unhelpful. The fact that the loss of replays is a very unhelpful thing for a club like ours and other clubs. To have taken Norwich back to our stadium would have been, to the pilot tracks, would have been a great opportunity for us. But it doesn't happen. So you just have to live with it. The world of football is difficult, and it's not getting easier. And therefore, we just have to live with it and manage it accordingly. We wish the world was different, but it's not. So we'll just manage it accordingly. And with optimism, I don't really come across here as somebody with optimism, and there's a lot of stuff going on that's really good, but the fact that the FA Cup replays are a thing of the past is unwelcome. There's no question about that.
Lee, you're obviously, as you say, a businessman. You've got this corporate background, and you are running Walsall as much with your head as your heart. If there was one thing you could change genuinely in football, and we focus on the pyramid, particularly on a cup weekend, what would you change?
I would change the financial structure of football from top to bottom. We have to protect and care for the pyramid. And I say that as a co-chair of a football club, but my brain is saying that we need to care for the pyramid, not just Walsall Football Club, the whole pyramid. And if you look at football from top to bottom, financially, it's not in good place, but it could be. There's enough money in football to be a very successful business across the whole pyramid, right the way to the National League.
So why hasn't the Premier League done a deal with the EFL yet?
Oh, I don't know, Henry. I mean, I just simply do not know. Eventually, of course, heads will be banged and we will find a solution to this. But at the moment, we'll see. But I think eventually a deal will be done. But it's been a long time coming. Certainly my experience of going down to London and meeting various representatives, it's been going on for 3 years. And for some people, a lot longer. But I honestly, Henry, I just don't know when that will come to fruition. The independent regulator now getting involved, of course, I think will hasten the coming together, the compromise that's needed in football. Because, we will work extremely hard this year to not lose money. And if we don't lose money, we'll be very, very one of the very few select clubs that don't. And we're talking multi-million pound losses. So it is a tough world, and it's getting tougher by the year. And we need to find a resolution. So in answer to your question, Henry, what would I like? I'd like that redistribution of wealth to be brought forward and sold as quickly as possible, not just for my club, but for other clubs in a lot worse position than mine. And when I say mine, I mentioned we're part of the Trevella Group. It's no longer can I refer to as just mine. It's a Trevella Group that we're in, and as I've said strategically, that's a much more comfortable position for me to be in for the club and for myself.
Lee Pomlett, Walsall's co-chairman. We hear your frustrations, Lee. We sympathise, but hope you have a good day out today and can enjoy Norwich against Walsall. I don't want to end on a low. I mean, we're looking forward to today. I'm with the team now. They're looking forward to it. They are nice and relaxed, and they're looking forward to it because one or two of them have played at Carrow Road before. The majority, of course, not. So we are looking forward to it. Should be great. Very good. Thank you, Lee. Good luck.
Good luck, Lee.
Next up, it's Lee Bowyer. Yeah, just under an hour left of the Sunday edition here on talkSPORT. You can check out the latest talkSPORT Daily podcast where Sam Ellard, Scott Minto and Perry Groves debate how to improve the offside law. They delve into Arsene Wenger's proposed daylight offside and discuss how it could reshape attacking play, defending and VAR. Listen on the talkSPORT app or wherever you get your podcasts. Back to the FA Cup now. Delighted to say we're now joined by a man who played in many an FA Cup tie for many a different club. Lee Bowyer joins us. Morning, Lee.
Morning, Shaun. Morning, Henry.
Hi, Lee.
Lee, we were just looking through your various clubs and how many games you'll have played in the FA Cup. But ultimately, I guess, it was a competition that, while it's brilliant to play in, it probably frustrated you because you won a League Cup, but you didn't win an FA Cup.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, I expected to win more with the teams that I was lucky enough to play with. So, but at least I did bring a trophy home on one occasion, so it's better than none.
Absolutely. Tell us about the FA Cup for you, your moments in it, and whether you look back at some times where you think, could have won it that year, we should have won it that year, or maybe a defeat which still rankles with you.
I think I got to the semi-final on a couple of occasions, one with Leeds and one with Newcastle. So those was probably the better two sides that I played with. So frustrating because the teams I played with, we all expected to win something with them two teams, and we just fell short of the last hurdle.
We hear quite a bit nowadays about how players and clubs, certainly when it's the third round, certainly aren't that bothered about the FA Cup. And hey, if you manage to get through a few rounds, then you get excited about the quarterfinals. Do you think it's even changed, even from your day, where the FA Cup was more important?
I think in my day it was the big one, But I think teams now, they put out weakened sides, and their focus is more on staying in the league, in the Premier League, and trying to win the title, So, but the teams with the strength and depth, the top Premier League teams, they can afford to do that. So it's a lot easier for them to get to the later stages. But your teams down the bottom, yes, they want to stay in there because obviously it brings money into the club and the fans want a good run in it. But I think their full focus is on just trying to stay in the Premier League.
Lee, just looking at your FA Cup record with Leeds, you did have that win at Arsenal. You scored twice against Portsmouth. You scored against Manchester City. And then you had, the flip side of it was losing at Cardiff with a very good Leeds team. Woodgate played, Rio played, Batty played, Mark Viduka was up front. That was a really good Leeds team. What for you? What is that? What are the two flip sides of that like? Obviously, a good win at Arsenal, and then the Cardiff defeat.
The Cardiff one was a really strange one because obviously we went there and we expected to win, and everybody expected us to win. But I have to say, I remember it well. I remember the atmosphere. It was so intimidating, and they was obviously not in the same division as us, but the atmosphere on the day, it was a freezing cold day up in Cardiff, and I remember the owner was walking around the pitch and getting the fans going, and it was a really strange one. And to be fair, that they deserved to win on the day, So yes, it was frustrating for us because we'd done so well on the earlier stages, but for us to lose on that day, it was disappointing.
What's it like when you were playing against a team like Yeading, when you played for Newcastle? And you scored in that game. Is it one of you're on a hiding to nothing because you're expected to go there and do well? And what would the team talk be and the mood like amongst the players at your level, stepping out against a team like Yeading?
You still prepare. Everything's the same, You still go out there and you want to win the game. But for Yeading, it's a cup final for them. A bit like yesterday was with Macclesfield. I watched that game and they deserved to win. And Yeading on that day, the gulf between us and Yeading was massive, But I think we just scraped it 1-0, did we, Henry?
It was 2-0, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, was it 2-0? Okay, I thought it was just 1. I thought I was the one that scored. Maybe not then. But yeah, it was a tough day, and we played at QPR's ground as well on that day, and obviously QPR's pitch is really tight, and they made it really difficult for us. We definitely know we was in the game, and we thought we would win comfortably, but it wasn't that way.
As I mentioned at the start, you are a man of many clubs. Do you have a look through everybody everywhere you play? Do you always like to look at their results? What's your batting order of results?
I start at the top. I start at the top league, and then I work my way down. But I'm always looking for the teams that I played for, especially like their results. And Leeds at the moment, they're doing well. Like, I'm really pleased for them and the football club, and especially the manager, Farker. He's doing a great job. They've changed their system and it's working for him. And everybody was questioning him, even at the start of the season, whether he should take the team, and I thought that was wrong. And because I know how big of a club it is, I'm really pleased that they've turned it around. And don't get me wrong, there's still a long way to go, but they're getting the best out of Calvin Lewin. They're playing to his strengths, and they grinding out results. And the games that I have seen them play, they've deserved every point they've got.
Yeah, it feels like the buzz is back at Leeds. Where the buzz isn't is West Ham, another of your former clubs, which is a bit of a mess at the moment. They're home to QPR today. I can imagine that's going to be not a very great occasion for the fans.
No, I can't understand how it's gone from winning a European Cup, no matter how big or how small the cup is, you've won in the European Cup, and to go from there to where we are now at the moment. I say we because I'm a fan. It's just I just can't get my head around it. So that big of a drop in a short space of time. Yes, David Moyes went. Do I think that he should have gone? No. I think what he done with the football club and to get them to where they was unbelievable work with what he had to work with. But since then, it's just gone downhill and downhill quickly, and it's tough to watch for me being a West Ham fan, because the drop has been too big, too quick, and I can understand all the fans' frustrations at the moment.
Lee, you were most recently managing internationally with Montserrat, and obviously you're back now, back on the market, if you like, for coach or manager's job. Can you just give us a little idea about what that experience was like?
No, it was. People ask me this a lot, and the experience, and this is why I took the job, is because I wanted to see what it was like to manage abroad. And international football is obviously completely different to your everyday football, your league football, and to go and see all the different tactics, and like you have such a short space of time to turn around. You play 2 games in a short space of time. You only have a short time to work with the players to get your tactics across, and to then play against the different formations and travel in different parts of the world, different cultures, and I absolutely loved it. I had a great bunch of lads. 95% of them were non-league and they had normal jobs, and to get them to take on the information in such a short space of time, it was really good experience for me. Like I loved every second of it.
Lee, in terms of club management, has it become more difficult for coaches, managers now? Because there just seems to be so much pressure, whether it's from us in the media, whether it's social media, whether it's fans, but also top down from owners now. We're seeing it particularly at Premier League level, and more sporting directors having more and more sway over the shape of the team.
Yeah, it's hard, Henry. It's a 24/7 job, and it's relentless. You have owners, a lot of owners that don't really understand the game, but they want to have their input, which is fine because they own their clubs. But I think when you get employed by a football club, then you're getting employed for a reason, I believe, because you're the one that knows the knowledge. You're the one that's going out there and trying to put the best team out to win football matches. But just in my short career so far, I've had some owners that I've had a certain one that would step back and just let us go and do our job. And then you have others that I've had another one that wants to have an input. But then there's a fine line, like there's having an input and then there's trying to take control. And then I think that's the fine line that now that I'm seeing on the TV and on the radios is some are trying to take full control. And if you're the type of manager that accepts that, then that's why they're employing the certain people that they are.
So when you're looking to come back into the game again, how do you judge whether it's worth taking the job? I mean, if somebody had offered you the Chelsea job, you'd probably have taken it, but you'd have known the restrictions you're under, which are basically you're going to be told what to do to a large extent.
Yeah. And that's the thing you have to weigh up. If you are that type of person that you are willing to let the people, the hierarchy, have an input on the team that you play or the subs that you make, then I think you have to be a certain person there to allow that to happen, because at the end of the day, the manager is the one that's getting judged on the results. And if you're not the one that's picking the team or able to make the subs that you want or the signings that you want, then it becomes a difficult job, I think.
Hope you find the right place, Lee. Good luck. Good luck for the future. Thanks very much. Enjoy the FA Cup today.
Thank you.
Next up, we're looking at the latest transfer rumours and some of the done deals so far. just going to have a little reflection on the big transfer of the week here on Sunday edition, and that was Antoine Semenyo's move to Man City. And he hit the ground running yesterday because he scored. I know it was only Exeter City. Yes, it was 10-1. It was a bit of a pushover. But one of the things that struck me is they've now got power on that left side. Now, if you look at previous incumbents, Jeremy Doku, who I think is a really good player, Jack Grealish, they don't have his strength. He almost can bulldoze his way past a fullback, and maybe that's the extra ingredient Guardiola was looking for.
I think he can play either side. I mean, what's been interesting in recent weeks, Pep's almost been playing with 2 10s behind Haaland in Foden and Cherki. So, and they've obviously been going wide and coming in. I mean, he's far more sort of fluid than people expect. But Antoine Semenyo can play left, he can right, he can play more central. He's got a fantastic long throw. Is there a set piece element as well to him? And he scores in that 10-1 defeat of Exeter City yesterday. So, yeah, I think he's a fantastic signing. And what's been interesting, and I've been doing a bit on it this week, it's been interesting to see the reaction. A lot of reaction has been from Bournemouth fans saying, good luck to him. You know, he gave absolutely everything.
And to play in the game again earlier in the week.
Yeah, and score in the 95th minute.
The winner.
And then to put that sort of emotional statement out via the Bournemouth website to the fans, and then to take a page out in the Bournemouth Echo yesterday. And that was, you know, absolutely fantastic. And I think a lot of people have been highlighting it. Well, it happened at your club, the way that Alexander Isak left. You know, look, all's fair in love and war and transfer moves and all that, and I get that. But I just think Antoine Semenyo has done it with a bit of class.
I mean, I gave him the big build-up there, saying how he's added power, I feel, to that team. Do you think it was a player City needed to push back to the top level, the very top, if you like?
I mean, I think they're close to it anyway. When you look, they've got Rodri coming back. I think they need a centre-half more.
Winners and title winners.
I think they need a centre-half more.
Well, indeed, which brings us to Mark Gahey.
Yeah. What did you make of his going and talking to the Palace fans?
I think players do it a lot. Mickey van der Ven was doing it in the week as well, didn't it? It's become a common theme, isn't it?
It's more common on the continent.
To have a bit of an argument with fans. But you see, everybody now, after the game finishes, has to go and applaud the fans, talk to the fans, thank the fans. One thing that struck me this week, for instance, was Nuno coming onto the pitch and hugging the Forest players, because everybody goes on the pitch. You can just go down the tunnel.
Like Emery does.
You don't have to get involved with discussions with fans, and you don't have to go and, as Nuno did, cuddle the opposition, which I think didn't please too many of the West Ham fans, even though I accept he knew all those players. We digress here, but I thought it was an interesting point.
I think the moment it started now, and I remember a lot of the players or managers are doing interviews on the pitch, or certainly some of them are, so they will be out there. I think there's an element of wanting to support the fans, and of course if they don't, then of course it gets highlighted, snub the fans.
So what do you think Gahey was trying to achieve there?
I think because of his standing amongst Crystal Palace fans, and because he's captain, and because he's so respected as a professional, I think he can go over and expect not to be slaughtered. I think he will go over and want to have a communication. Whether who you're actually talking to is another case in point, and how close you can actually get to them. But I think I've got a lot of respect for him for doing that, because he could have hidden.
Do you think he's in a very tricky position at the moment as well? Because obviously if he hangs out to the summer, he's costing the club quite a bit of money. He could go now and probably still have his pick of top clubs, but maybe not make as much money. He obviously has devoted a lot of time and effort to Crystal Palace and their success. It's a bit of a dilemma for him.
If he'd stamped his feet earlier in the last transfer window, and he's absolutely not that type, he probably could have forced through a move to Liverpool. And if Liverpool had moved a little bit more quickly, I mean, there was a lot in place for the move to be done, but obviously it fell down because Oliver Glasner quite rightly said, I haven't got a replacement to come in, because Liverpool, culpable, left it until the last minute. So I think he's got a bit of credit in the bank.
At one time, you might have said, Man United, they should go and get Mark Gahey. That would be good to shore up their defence. But they're not in the game for players like that at the moment, are they?
Well, they went out in the summer and they bought 2 top-class attacking players in Brian Mbeumo and Mateus Cunha. Obviously, it's slightly different if you're going for people who've got clauses. And they've
got Sesko as well, obviously.
Yeah, Sesko as well, who actually looked really good the other day. And surprise, because he was getting proper service from the flanks, particularly Patrick Dorgu setting up his second.
But if you're Mark Gahey, you're probably not going to consider Man United as the club to go to at the moment.
Mark Gahey needs to be in the Champions League. I mean, he's an England international. And he's elite level.
Is there anything United can do now that they don't have a head coach or a manager?
Well, they've still got quite high-profile sporting directors who can...
maybe they can sort it out for them, I wonder. Who are they going to sign? If they were to sign somebody this January, who would it?
I think the most important thing they have to do is actually get the interim coach in. I understand why they're going for an interim coach, because they're not going to get the truly elite coach until the summer. So it is Solskjaer, Fletcher or Carrick. Get them in. Ask them what type of player you want and it'll have to be in the short term. I would be surprised if they do too much business at the moment, because they've got the two players coming back from AFCON quite imminently, and that will make a difference. And they've only got one game a week anyway. When
Solskjaer went from Man United, I seem to remember you thinking that was the right thing, that he should go and that they needed a new manager. But now everybody's advocating him coming back, and because if you bit of revisionism, you look at his record, and you think actually he didn't do too bad.
He didn't do too badly.
Was everybody too hard on him at the time?
I mean, I can understand. It's a bit like probably different level. Well, definitely a different level of manager, but Celtic turning back to Martin O'Neill, who is an exceptional manager. I think it's also important that, it's like with Maloney going in with him, it's the quality of the coach you have coming in, and they sort of work as a team. I understand why they're going for someone who understands the club, because I think they need to get back to that, and that is wingers giving youth a chance.
Indeed.
I don't have a problem with the DNA. I know you sort of roll your eyes.
I don't get it. I don't know what it is.
I think it's specific.
What is it?
Well, look, it's specific to every club, a DNA, but I understand what Gary Neville is saying, particularly about Manchester United, because Amorim was such a move away from that.
But is their DNA what Fergie did? You see, Darren Fletcher again this week was going on about, yes, I rang Alex Ferguson for advice, etc. Roy Keane treats Ferguson with disdain because of their bust-up in the past, saying he's hanging around like a bad smell, which is what he said. But when the old boys, apart from Keane, talk about the DNA, I am sure they're suggesting we need anybody who played under the Fergie era to be back in charge.
Sorry, if you're Manchester United manager and you come in and you feel the shadow of Ferguson, whether he's in the building or not, you're going to be standing there. You're facing the Sir Alex Ferguson stand is opposite you. There's a statue outside that stand as well. You're not going to get rid of that. You should be inspired.
But he doesn't know how to work with a sporting director. He would not given the sporting director the time of day. And now this manager has to. I'm not sure Alex Ferguson will be able to give that manager advice on how to work with Jason Wilcox.
No, but in terms of Ferguson, in terms of the standards that he set, in terms of the standards that Gary Neville and Roy Keane embodied as Manchester United players, I don't think that. Why should the current manager, head coach, shy away from that? They should actually be inspired by that and say, listen, this is what the club's about. Also, you talk about the Manchester United DNA. With respect, that predates Sir Alex Ferguson. That goes back to the Busby era.
I'm not sure we're going to be able to get anybody from that era to take control.
No, but you see what I mean in terms of, if you're a Manchester United fan, you expect them to play a certain way, and tactically, that is with width, that is front foot, and we didn't get that with Amorim.
We shall see what happens, but I think you're right. Maybe interim till the end of the season, and then maybe Carlo Ancelotti, as Gary Neville suggests. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT with Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. And next up, we're talking about our live comms game, Derby v Leeds.
Sport is often filled with people trying to make a quick buck, often at fans' expenses. But sometimes someone on the fringes comes up with an exhibition idea that goes down a storm. Let me tell you about a couple of them. Mallorca 2007. Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer compete in what was dubbed the Battle of the Surfaces, a unique idea that reportedly almost got cancelled at the last minute when worms got into the grass. An 11th hour turf delivery got the match on, and despite some dodgy bounces on the new green stuff, Rafa and Roger slugged out a 3-set epic. Tennis has a history of exhibitions too, with the Battle of the Sexes in 1973 captivating audiences worldwide as Billie Jean King took on the former world #1 men's player Bobby Riggs, who talked down the women's game. Billie Jean King won. In motorsport, there was Monza-Napolis in the 50s when American Indy cars went up against European F1 cars. But perhaps the best exhibitions have been the charity ones. In 1998, legends like Mike Atherton, Sachin Tendulkar and Glenn McGrath turned out at Lord's for a one-dayer in memory of Princess Diana. And since 2006, we've had Soccer Aid, which has raised an incredible amount of money. And if you get to see the likes of Jose Mourinho taking out Ollie Mers, then what's not to like?
Super Bowl 60 on talkSPORT.
Our latest competition has landed. This is your chance to be at the greatest show on earth, the Super Bowl, on Sunday, 8th of February. As well as a pair of tickets, we're chucking in flights to San Francisco, 3 nights accommodation, and spending money all covered. Listen up, here's how to enter. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343 418 7260. Lines closed 22nd of January at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now. Yep, great comp, that one, and as is the FA Cup, which is obviously a great competition. And we're joined now by Andy Townsend, who is on commentary for us at Derby v Leeds, but he was also at the big one yesterday, Macclesfield's victory over Palace. Andy, have you recovered from it?
Oh, Shaun, Henry, what a day. What a great day that was yesterday. I absolutely loved that. And I'm just saying, from the second we arrived at Macclesfield, which is often the case when you go to some of the non-league clubs or national league clubs, etc., you're always made most welcome. We could go where we wanted. We had access on the pitch. Of course, you end up going up the tiers, and you can't dare not put a foot on the grass without someone throwing you out the ground. But it was just a great day and an amazing game. They thoroughly deserved it. They were brave. They were tenacious. They unsettled Palace. They did everything you have to do to win an FA Cup tie, and I'm sure this morning they'll be feeling very pleased with themselves. Looking forward to a trip for Ibiza on behalf of the chairman, and I'm sure looking forward to the next draw. You know, the draw for the 4th round. But wonderful day. I
have to say, listening to your commentary yesterday, Andy, because I was out and about, the enthusiasm you had for the Cup and the enjoyment you got out of that game properly came through on the radio.
Well, I genuinely did, because what I never like to see, Shaun, is teams from lower down the ladder rolling it around at the back and trying to show perhaps the better teams that they can play football the nice way, the proper. Forget that. It's a cup tie, and if you want to make history, then you need to do what Macclesfield did, and you need to, right from the kick-off, they served it forward, clattered into everybody, and we're not standing there admiring, the so-called superior team. They got in their faces, got around them, and they made life extremely difficult. And that's what you have to do if you want to win FA Cup ties. And that's what the top teams don't like as well, is when teams do that to them. So it was great, and that's what gives you enthusiasm. When I watch football, I watch so much of it, and have done for many years now. It's when I see honest performances like that yesterday that makes me smile.
Here, Andy, get it in the mixer now. Yeah. You popped just down the road because you're at Derby v Leeds today, which is our midday kick-off on talkSPORT. What are you expecting from this one?
Well, again, now look, this one I'm expecting it to be very competitive. Derby have struggled a bit here, and their form has been mixed. Leeds have been better recently. Come out of the wrong side of that one up at Newcastle the other day in dramatic last-second fashion. But I'm expecting this game to be very competitive, and I'm expecting Derby to do more of the same. I'd like to think that, again, in front of their own fans, it'd be a great atmosphere. Always is here at Pride Park. But again, they should be looking to unnerve and unsettle Leeds, who aren't rock solid at the back. Far from it. So again, make sure that they keep their forwards in the game. Make sure that they play at a good rate of knots. And again, worry about the last 10 or 15 minutes when you get there. Don't start planning for the last 10 or 15 minutes at the start of the game by playing slowly and trying to conserve energy. Forget that. Get amongst Leeds United as soon as they can and see where the game takes you. But Leeds have got some good players and have got some talent, and again, like to play energetically. And so Derby are going to have to play well today for sure.
Andy, where are you with Premier League managers rotating, particularly those who haven't got the biggest of squads?
Yeah. Again, Henry, I cannot understand why you would make whole 8 changes, 8 and 9s and all that for these sort of ties. I think it's dangerous. It's fraught with danger. It really is. It's bizarre. I understand the need to make 3 or 4 or 5 even, perhaps, because of the amount of players you have at your disposal in the Premier League now. But to make such significant changes is always a risk. And you see Oliver Glasner after the game yesterday, how disappointed he was, how fed up he was, how embarrassed he was. Well, he was the one that picked the team, and he made all those changes, and he put a lot of the young boys in, and he can moan about 1 or 2 of them here and there. He picked it. It's on him. So there is a way around that. You can pick a strong team. You can respect your opponent and the competition a little bit more, and I understand the need for keeping everybody in your squad involved and wanting to give people game time, but you don't just give people game time here and there and then sort of tick that box and then go back to your other boys. And I don't see the point of that. I think when you get on a bit of a roll, you continue to play a team that's serving you well at that moment and keep it going as best you can, and that's never been a bad thing to do.
Andy, I remember you scoring a couple of goals against Port Vale for Norwich in the 3rd round back in '89 when you had that great run to the semi-final. What was it like, the feeling of the cup then, and is it still as big now as it was then?
I think it is, Henry. I do think it is. Look, it's no doubt it has a different place and space in modern day football, but I genuinely feel that the FA Cup is something absolutely worth taking very seriously. I look at the team that Unai Emery picked last night for Villa. I look at Liam Rosenior on the bench there at Chelsea with all that coaching staff and all his players around him, fist bumping and high fiving every time a goal went in last night at Charlton. And it's a competition still worth taking very, very seriously. If you're in the bottom 3 of the Premier League and your priorities are of course with staying in the division, well, there'll be some that will argue that it's the extra matches that the FA Cup brings extra stress and strain on your players and puts pressure on your chances of survival. I also like to think a good cup run inspires players, gives them a bit of confidence, gives the fans a lift, gives you a breather, takes you out of the slog of the Premier League, and can give you something extra to focus on. So I don't think it's a bad thing to take this competition very seriously. It will reward you handsomely if you do, and you get to the last stages of it.
And as you say, Derby Leeds is a proper cup
game.
tie, isn't it? I worked in Derby for a year, and I keep telling people Derby is a big footballing town. It might not be a big town, but the enthusiasm, the fans there, you can go back to the baseball ground, but even at Pride Park as well, they're properly well supported. It'll be a hard day for Leeds.
It won't be an easy game. It shouldn't be an easy game, Shaun, for Leeds. I don't think they'll be expecting one. And the Derby fans here, this will be packed. It will be a great atmosphere. Derby are they're just below mid-table in the league. John Eustace knows he needs his players to find a bit more rhythm and more consistency. Better place to have a rousing FA Cup tie today in front of your own fans, get a win, and then start moving forward as the new year progresses. So it's a great opportunity for both. For Leeds, they want to keep going. They need to win games. They need to win a few more to get some genuine belief in their camp. For Derby, it just might ignite their season. We'll see.
Andy Townsend, enjoy the game. Andy's on co-coms for Derby v Leeds here on talkSPORT. You're listening to Sunday Edition. Next up, we'll look at the rest of today's games. Minutes to go, Sunday edition with myself, Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. So let's look at the latest odds ahead of today's action with William Hill.
In the Zone on talkSPORT. Brought to you by Final One Standing. New from William Hill. 18 plus gambleaware.org. Terms and conditions apply.
And it's good morning to our old friend Lee Phelps of William Hill. How are you doing, Lee?
Yeah, really good. How are you two?
Not bad. How was yesterday and how many punters were on Macclesfield to win?
Yeah, about 200. The biggest one, someone had £100 on, so fantastic result for them as well as. Obviously, Crystal Palace fans listening to this will be scowling, but it was one of those results, as you've just been talking. Then just just makes you feel good about football again, doesn't it? A bit like, ironically, a bit like Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup. They kind of got a taste of their own medicine in a way, didn't they? That kind of football came round to bite them on the bum a little bit. But yeah, I thought it was a fantastic. I listened to a lot of it on talkSPORT yesterday. I thought it was a brilliant FA Cup day. I mean, obviously the great days, iconic days in the footballing calendar, aren't they? And great days for accumulators and all that sort of stuff. Same again today, really. I mean, it's interesting that the result, I mean, that really was the kind of, the swimming against the tide. I totted up in games between Premier League teams and sides in lower divisions. The aggregate score was 32-7. So it was a real dominating day for Premier League teams against lower, apart from
10 of them were Man City, though, Lee.
Yeah, 10 were. but Burnley scored 5, Wolves scored 6. There was some heavy defeats there in games where you might have thought there could have been an upset. So I mean, the interesting one for me was in the outrights. Man City are favourites 4-1. Arsenal, who play later, 5-1. Liverpool, who finished the round off tomorrow night, are 11-2. Chelsea 7s. Villa were 16-1. Before the third round yesterday. I mentioned it on the warm-up yesterday. And they're now 9-1. And I know I'm not telling anyone things they don't already know, but I just thought the way they played again, that kind of control of the game and that ability just to kind of go through the gears quickly and that kind of direct football, direct passing football, they just tore Spurs apart. I know it ended up 2-1, but yeah, I mean, I thought they were a big price at 16-1. It was semi-finals last year, weren't they? 9-1, still probably worth a look.
But you mentioned that Villa Spurs game, and Thomas Frank is favourite to be the next Premier League manager to leave.
Yeah, it's probably not a surprise, is it? I mean, the way the games have been going and the way, it feels when you speak to Spurs fans, it feels quite toxic there, doesn't it? And you do worry. I mean, it's mad really when you think that the two men who are pretty much, it's 11-8 Thomas Frank, it's 6-4 Nuno Espirito Santo. I mean, they're two clubs that, another manager. It's like, it doesn't make it beggars belief that we could go through the season with, if both of those managers go. I mean, what a tumultuous season for both of those clubs. It's a big jump up to the next. Oliver Glasner's 11-1, the next one. Obviously, maybe Man United plays into this a little bit, but Thomas Frank, the favourite to be the next Premier League manager to go.
Lee, when you're setting the odds, how do you work out the likely teams, because there's a lot of rotation?
No, it is difficult, and I think when you look at Macclesfield's price yesterday, they were 11-1, which it's not a huge price. In the grand scheme of things, you'll see some Premier League teams up around that price, admittedly away from home, and they were at home. But you have to factor in the fact that teams are going to be weakened down, and I think what you'll see is as team news comes out, and I think it's always worth looking, the prices will change accordingly. If a Premier League comes out with 8, 9, 10 changes against a relatively confident lower league side, I think it was Harry Redknapp once said that if you get on any given day, confidence goes a long way. So if you get a team a little bit like Walsall you were talking about earlier on, who are confident playing a team who are lacking in confidence, who may be weakened down, then that's where you've got to look. So that's what we take into consideration.
I'm not sure we mentioned this yet, but what's happening in final one standing?
Yeah, well, it's a kind of week off. It's a Premier League game only. I mean, we've had £1 million won since the start of the season. Most of that since the start of Christmas, to be fair. 3 winners won £20,000 games in this week that's just gone. One player won £200,000 on one of the games. So new league starts next Saturday. That'll be £20,000 prize. If you haven't played yet, it's basically last man standing. So it's free to play. You pick a Premier League team to win. If they do, you go through. If they don't, you're out, and you can play the next week. So it all kicks off again next Saturday.
Okay, so to talk about 3 of the games we picked out today, starting with our commentary game, Derby versus Leeds at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, interesting one. A bit of needle in this one. Remember the infamous Spygate in 2019 when Bielsa sent spies to Derby in that kind of a promotion campaign that season. Derby are 3-1 to win this. The draw 5-2, Leeds 3-4. You've got to look at how teams approach cup competitions now. Leeds lost to Sheffield Wednesday, and that was when Sheffield Wednesday, I mean, not that they're out of the mire, but they were in a real difficult state at that time. The kids playing, there was a boycott of the stadium. Leeds went there and lost to the Sheffield Wednesday kids in the League Cup, drew the game, lost in the end. Not been great away from home despite this good run. 1 win all season away, that was at Wolves. Derby aren't great. I can see this as a draw going to extra time, maybe penalties.
And before your day, Derby and Leeds used to kick lumps out of each other on a regular basis, I can assure you. Portsmouth v Arsenal.
Yeah, there's a Portsmouth to 12-1, 11-2 the draw, Arsenal 1-6. I mean, even if Arsenal weaken down, we know what their bench and their squad looks like. This should be a foregone conclusion, I would expect. There's an epic boost on this one. It's Arsenal to win by 3 or more goals in the 90 minutes, that is. Was 11-8, now 2-1. So you need a healthy win there for Arsenal. But as we saw yesterday, as I mentioned, there were some healthy wins for Premier League teams over lower division opposition. A couple of those epic boosts landed yesterday, so that's probably a way in there. And look who's playing, and then pick out a couple of goal scorers, maybe a bet builder on these games where the home team Portsmouth are going to have a go. They're not going to kind of sit back. They're going to have a go at this. So maybe a bet builder where you can put in shots on target and fouls and tackles and yellow cards might be a way into some of these.
West Ham QPR. I'm not sure where you start with that one because it's not an obvious Premier League team will whack the lower division team, is it?
No, but also QPR, they're 18-5, so it's not like they're a huge price. I mean, West Ham odds on 4-6. If it wasn't for those Burnley and Wolves results yesterday, I'd be saying QPR. Well, QPR aren't exactly pulling up trees in the Championship either. Depending how strong Nuno goes, I think maybe West Ham win and both teams to score. Defensively, both are suspect. Both teams to score in this one is 8-11. So whichever way you're going to go, I'd put both teams to score in with it. So West Ham to win and both teams to score might be the way.
Last game of the day is Man United v Brighton. I mean, you can take the game itself in isolation first and then tell us what the next manager odds are.
Yeah, Man United, a touch of odds on here, 5-6. Brighton a 13-5. The draw's the same price. I thought it was interesting. Not a great result in Darren Fletcher's first game in charge. Drawing at maybe relegated Burnley, but 30 shots, 10 on target. Šeško scoring 2. I thought it signalled a different kind of an intent for Manchester United. And the epic boost here is for Man United to score in the first half. Even money from 8-13. Brighton have conceded first in 3 of their last 4 games. So I don't mind that. Again, I think, one for a bet. But if that's how Man United are going to approach this, then it should be a cracking game because Brighton can score goals as well. So I think Man United to win and both teams to score is probably the one I like there.
Just quickly, next manager then.
Yeah, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been odds on and been getting progressively shorter over the last few days. He's actually drifted a little bit now, 13-10. So he was like 1-3. He's 13-10 to be the next permanent manager of Man United. Now, just the rules on this, if he's a caretaker or an interim, he needs to remain in place for 10 games to be deemed a winner of this. So, when we say permanent manager, 10 games will do it. Michael Carrick, 7-4. He's shortened in the betting. It seems a bit like a 2-horse race, although Oliver Glasner 6-1. Darren Fletcher himself is 8-1. And then you jump up to Thomas Tuchel 16s, Southgate 16s. So it looks like it's either Solskjaer or Carrick at the moment.
Lee Phelps of William Hill, thank you very much. Enjoy your day. That was the latest odds brought to you by Final One Standing. New from William Hill. Terms and conditions apply. 18+. Gambleaware.org.
In the Zone on talkSPORT. Brought to you by Final One Standing. New from William Hill. 18+. Gambleaware.org. Terms and conditions apply.
Right, quick word, Henry. What's the game you're looking forward to today?
Portsmouth Arsenal. I just think that I remember the Thierry Henry hat-trick applauded off the pitch by Portsmouth fans because he was so good. Quite intrigued to see what the gate's going to be at West Ham QPR. And one thing about the whole Ibiza trip, if they go to Ibiza for winning in the 3rd round, this is Macclesfield. If they win the 4th round, what's the next trip? Do they go to Vegas? I mean,
hopefully we'll have Robert Smethurst back on to tell us. That is it for Sunday edition this week. We're back next week. Up next, it's game day exclusive Derby v Leeds.